Calling to order the Town Finance Community Housing Oversight Committee, TCHOC, from Monday, August 11th at 6 p.m. I have heard from one member of the public who is recording this meeting. If anybody else would like to record the meeting or is planning to record the meeting, if you could let us know. Okay, the meeting is being recorded on Zoom anyway. So beginning our agenda with public comment, is there anybody who would like to make a public comment?
Yep, there is one hand raised. Can promote them.
Sure.
Now unmute. All right.
Hi, Russ.
Okay, how are you doing? Yeah, thank you very much for doing all this work. Wonderful summer. It's a little warm outside, but it's nice and cool where you are, I'm sure. Um, I just want to thank you for doing all this work. My interest is I do live in public housing, and I've been trying to track all the development efforts for some time. But I used to do some development on Mission Hill and other places, and I'm very interested in what's going to be going on in the future. This work now is pre-development work, and with the changes in the national scene and so forth. And let's face it, the tear down build up approach has been on the table for 10 years, and it's less likely to continue than ever in that mode. Um, but I think the pre-development work, I'm interested in the work product. And any business transaction, of course, is going to be about goods and services. Now, this is mostly services, presentation of development of ideas, conducting meetings, and so forth. But there is a work product embedded in these things, and they're often that I pick them up in paper. So if there's something about repositioning, it's I don't know whether you can see this. Oh well, never mind. Um, Anyway, I've got these reports, they're in paper, but I'm looking for the connection. How would I get to know that this report existed? Housing conversion assessment in which a draft report started in 2021 and a final report in February 2023 with a lot of very interesting work product kind of information, defining what the scope of the work is and so forth. And a lot of work that has been done has been exploratory. So a lot of just a point in passing here, there was a consideration of a Section 22 approach. Well, it turns out after all this work, there were two proposals in this. I can't show you it. I'm holding the thing in the air. Um, it it refers to a lot of useful information, which becomes usable going forward. But the Chapter 22, while it was an maybe necessary exploratory work, Chapter 22 is not available. So that's what you bought there. That's what the town bought. I'm holding it up again. You can't see it. But the whoops. Uh, at any rate, the leftover from all this work, the pre-development work, which is probably it should be available to be used for other approaches. You know, if there's no longer going to be a conversion or a tear down of Linden Street, and we don't have the money available, what is it, 308,000 left of the 1.8386 million? That is that enough to do Chambers Street? They spent almost what is it, $970,000 um, on the Linden Street pre-development. So I don't know what's going to be left to do Chambers Street. That's what was proposed to town meeting, and I just wonder what's going to be left over. In any case, I'm very interested in your work and trying to identify maybe a little bit more um, I don't know, carefully, the work that was done that's referred to. You're paying for something. I'm interested in that to chase down where the work product is and how I can access it for future proposals. Things like I mentioned, the tree survey, for instance. It would be nice to have that. That's a piece of work product that's going to be usable going into the future, and a number of other things too, property condition reports and so on. So but better you than me. I'm glad you're doing this work, and I hope you come up with some useful information that will serve as work product going forward um, into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Cecilia, anybody else? Or public comment?
No hands raised.
All right, let's move on to a vote on the minutes from our last meeting on July 14th. Any discussion on the minutes?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We don't have anyone on Zoom. Yes, all in favor? Aye.
I'm abstaining, thank you.
You're abstaining, okay, against? All right, so we have passed the minutes. All right, so let's dig into the meat of the meeting now, which is to review and vote on the NHA Community Preservation Fund reimbursement requests. And we have a number of them, which we can group largely by the article as passed in town meeting. And Cecilia, if you want to bring us to the first sort of set.
So I'll deal with all of the ones on Article 17, which is the pre-development of Linden Chambers. The first request, number 18, is for repositioning work completed by CHA in the amount of $28,435. As a reminder, this one is reimbursable at the 100% rate. So it looks like the invoice has been paid. It looks like they have the backup documentation as well as some reports from CHA to the Housing Authority Board.
And I'll just note that this and several of the others were ones that we discussed in our last meeting, but we felt that we needed more backup, and we now have backup in the form of the CHA's report on this task order 4 for this given month. Am I correct on that?
Yes. Yes, and same with 19. This was reviewed in July, and then we just wanted, CHOC wanted some additional supporting documentation. And so that is provided at the end of the request, which is another status report to the board indicating the work that has been done under task order 4 for the month of October. Same with request number 20. This was reviewed last month. And then TCHOC had requested additional documentation. This is for state repositioning. And that is in the November status report to the board that's attached starting on page 33. And then the request number 21, same thing, discussed last month, state repositioning as well for the month of December of 2023. And the additional report and backup documentation is provided starting on page 40 of the packet, which is the status report to the board. And also the same with 22, state repositioning work through the month of January of 24 conducted by CHA. And the associated status report to the board is attached starting on page 47. Reimbursement request number 23. Also state repositioning, this is for May of 2024. And the Housing Authority provided additional documentation from a status report that was provided in the June meeting, but it does cover April through June. And then the last request for this article is disbursement request number 24. which was discussed at the prior meeting. This is invoice for state repositioning work conducted by CHA for the month of June 2024. And there is the status report to the board that starts on page 61.
So. Discussion on those requests for Article 7. Yeah, Irving.
I think I was going to mention this, but the backup reports are exactly the same for 23 and 24. So that is correct.
Cecilia, would you help us out with that?
For request number 23 and 24, if I,
Yeah.
because the backup report, it looks like the information that was summarized in the report was from April 24 through June 24. And their invoices are, one is for May and one is for June.
Okay.
It looks like there wasn't a board meeting in between April 24 and June of 24, so that's why there's just one backup report.
Peter?
So just generally speaking, Reg, we have the CHA project status report to the board, and CHA work items are listed up top. Roman numeral 3 is task order number 4. I think all of these requests for task order number 4. Have you kind of gone through all the memos, and there are task order 4, there's usually an entry for design process and updates from BH&A. And then there are other things. There could be zoning, relocation, finance, other meetings. And is it, I don't know if you could say this in a general way, but generally speaking, I'm not, are the categories other than BH&A, are those, is that the work that's the subject matter that CHA conducted its work on? Does that question make sense to you?
Sure, I understand.
So
Maybe we could look at a specific.
so if you turn to page like 41, there's a under task. So there are entries there under task order 4, living families redevelopment. First entry is design process updates BH&A. And then the second entry, there's details about it. Then there's more details under zoning, details under relocation, upcoming meetings, financing, developer negotiations. And generally, are those, I'm not going to hold you to each bullet point, but is that the CHA, were they providing consulting work in connection with zoning and in connection with relocate? I assume for sure relocation will be something that they would be
Yeah,
working
I mean, all these things that they were managing actively. They were the only people managing actively other than, me as a volunteer and Cheryl, who already has a 24-hour days and is a big job, so yes, absolutely. That's what they were doing.
Okay. That's my question.
Other questions for discussion?
It's for the public, either, I don't know if this is feasible, but when you have the task order 4 with all these items, and then there's a reimbursement request, is there some way to highlight which of the task order 4 items is associated with the reimbursement request? I don't know if that's what you were kind of getting at.
Well, it's not a task that's going on today. There are no CHA stopped supporting this Linden Street project in around the spring of 2024. So there isn't any new invoices being generated there.
I guess I'm saying going forward, if there was something similar, I think it might be helpful. You had a task with task order 4 has 6 sub items to it, and so you get a reimbursement request. Might be helpful to say that it's primarily zoning for that reimbursement of task order 4, rather than just refer to task.
Not quite sure. We are still working with CHA on seabeds and I want to put the seabed. So right now we're starting up the construction document phase, this month, and that will be through the rest of the year. So I think what he's saying is for those reports from this point forward,
Mhm.
you'd like to see, the association
Work with the task or subtask.
the hours for the task, you want them to change their timekeeping system? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just going to know, let's say it was task order 4 on this new project. And we get a reimbursement request for, say, September of 2025. And they did primarily zoning. I'd like to know that the work for that period of time was primarily the zoning component of task order 4.
So can I just clarify something, Erwin? So that each one of these memos is actually, everyone doesn't say zoning and everyone doesn't say relocation. So if you look at the memo, it's not perfect, but it kind of tracks what their activities were during the period of reporting out. So I took this good faith when I was referencing a particular board memo. There were entries there about zoning, relocation, upcoming financing.
You mean like on page 47?
On page 40 and 42, then that's for the period of time, that's December 14th, 2023, and I just kind of reasonably assumed that it had to do with activities that they did back in November or early December. And I just want to clarify that, just so you know that you probably know this by going through each one of these memos. But every memo doesn't always include an entry that says zoning or relocation. They kind of lay out what they've done or are going to do, and then I don't know if that helps clarify the question or not.
So you're saying in effect, it's in there. If I look at page 47, 48, where it says task order 4, there's that status report, all the items listed on the task order 4, there was some amount of work related to items 1 through 5. Or is it just?
That's the assumption that I
That's how I would read it.
That's how I read it.
But
And-
Reg, what would you say? Since
So
you are in those board meetings.
The report, that is provided relates to the task order and those portions of the task order that actually were worked upon during, the, period in question.
Mhm.
And may have things that are not explicitly itemized as a task in the task order when unexpected zoning things come up, just to use that as an example. So there's it's basically a status report and a work in progress report, not necessarily linked to the deliverables in task order number 4, using that as a hypothetical example. There are big end products. There are like a few end work products, like deliver the schematic design. But then as things happen from month to month, we run into problems scoping the sewer pipes and not being able to get down them. So there won't be a specific scope the sewer pipe task in the task order. It's much higher level than that. And this is just more of a sort of a week to week, month, day to day, week to week, month to month report on what actually was accomplished or what challenges were encountered during the period that the report was being provided for. That makes sense.
I think
Further discussion on the Article 17 requests? I would welcome a motion. And we'll have to do each one individually.
Each one
Yeah.
individually.
Motion to approve number 18.
You just put the only thing I would, for the records, would probably just put the.
That's the disbursement request number 18 in the amount of $28,435.00.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against?
All right, motion to approve disbursement request number 19 in the amount of $20,642.50.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against? Passes.
Motion to approve disbursement request number 20 in the amount of $20,990.00.
Second.
Discussion? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, motion passes.
Motion to approve disbursement request number 22 in the amount of
Did we do
13,000.
21?
Did I miss that? Sorry.
There's a lot of paper.
There we go. All right, motion to approve disbursement request number 21 in the amount of $13,814.25.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against? Okay, motion passes.
You know, I have the list, so a motion to approve.
Sure.
Disbursement number 22, in the amount of $13,165.00.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against?
Motion to approve disbursement request 3, amount $8,147.50.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against?
Motion to approve disbursement request for 24, amount of $1,495.00. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against?
That's it for Article 17. Just want to note for the record that all of those are disbursement requests under Article 17, because we have disbursement requests under different articles. So we'll go on to Article 23.
Article 23, Cecilia, can you take
These,
us through?
these are all new, so these were not reviewed in the July meeting. As a reminder, Article 23, it's reimbursed at 21.2%, so you will see the total of the invoice and then a different amount that's being requested for disbursement, that is the 21.2%. I am gonna talk about all, but I believe it's Article 15 as a whole, and then we'll come back to Article 15, because that one's just different than the rest of them. So Article 9 is a disbursement request in the amount of $1,446.37. This is for CHA work conducted the month of November 2024 for federal repositioning. And just as a blanket statement, all of these have been paid. They have their check, a copy of the check attached, as well as the associated report from the Housing Authority. And then disbursement request number 10 is in the amount of $1,445.31. You will notice a correction to the amount. The total that was paid and the subtotal of the invoice on CHA is correct, but you'll notice the first line, 1.25 hours at 250, is $312.50, but it was caught in the payment as well. This is for work done by CHA on federal repositioning through the month of April 2024. Request number 11 is a disbursement request in the amount of $662.50 for work done January of 2024. Most of these are just month by month invoices of the same work in the same project. Disbursement 12 is a request in the amount of $3,939.49. This is work conducted by CHA during the month of June of 2024. I apologize. It looks like when I was trying to add notes, they got added to the different page, so it wrote over a little bit on page 89. But it wrote over a section that is not being considered for reimbursement, so at least there's that. Request number 13 is in the amount of $8,117.48. This is for work during July through October of 2024. And this is more federal repositioning work. Disbursement request number 14 is in the amount of $2,828.08. For the month of December of 2024, all work conducted by CHA. I'm gonna skip over 15. I believe that's. All right. 16 is in the amount of $1,225.36. This is for work conducted the month of March of 2024.
Cecilia, can you tell us what page, because I know there's a lot
Yes.
of documentation for 15.
I jumped to page 160.
Okay, thank you. I was not with you.
And then request 17 is in the amount of $867.61. And this is for CHA work in the month of April of 2024. And then the last one, 18, is a disbursement request in the amount of $1,027.14. And this is another one, and the Housing Authority also has the questions written on here where the CHA's math was just a little off. And so they did not pay the $4,945, they paid $4,845 because the second line was overstated by $100. Their payment is correct, and so the disbursement amount is based off of the corrected. Some of these overlap in time period, where, you know, one portion of the project, there's an invoice for, say, April of 24, and there's a second invoice for April of 24. The hours do not overlap on those, so it is separate work on the separate invoice.
Questions? Yeah.
I have a request on future disbursement request. It has to do with identifying the period of service. So I had to look at the timesheets to put it when the work was done. So when the purpose of request previously would say, provided the period of, say, June 1, June 30, 2024. That was omitted on this invoices. So just be helpful to know.
So I fill out the first cover page and the Housing Authority fills out the second, but I can make sure I'm adding it on my page definitely, if it's not also on the Housing Authority
Just
page.
make a follow.
No problem.
Other discussion, questions?
I guess I have a similar question for task order 3 and CBEX preservation and status memos they provide. Just generally speaking, you know, design updates are PH&A, and then other entries, repositioning strategy, which, by the way, I think to take on the entire repositioning work. So, and then financing, I assume all of that is CHA's work.
Yes.
Reg, how much more of this type of thing is there left to do, or are you moving into this new phase and then this stuff is
So,
done?
we're moving into the new phase where the majority of the money that's being spent is on BH&A, the team, and they have a milestone type contract, which the committee was much more comfortable with in terms of, so there'll be sort of a percentage of complete billing from them. But there will still be the Cambridge Housing Authority invoices. And there are some in 2025 that haven't been submitted yet, because they haven't been paid yet. We, you know, have to come up with money to pay it, get it here. So there's always that sort of workload challenge that we got.
Mhm,
Which, by the way, the decisions tonight will help us a great deal
mhm,
in that, and
mhm.
so we can expect to see some more catch-up work, for September. So, and again, there is a task order for Seabed, well, it used to be Seabed's cook, of
Mhm.
course, until we had, and we're actually in the process of retiring the Seabed's cook task order, but
Mhm.
it's still what we're operating under. And we will be receiving for this upcoming board meeting, knock on wood, a replacement task order, which is the seabeds only, which we will be using to take forward. And it will, it also retire a bunch of things that have already been done, like the repositioning analysis, where we flip flop back and forth 3 times. So, we now have our section 18 application, I'm sorry, our section 18 application in.
Mhm.
So you won't see that in the seabeds, the successor seabeds only. And that will be focused on the 2-year period starting this summer and going through to construction. Knock on wood, right now is scheduled to start in the third quarter of 2026. And barring any unexpected challenges and funding, which could happen, obviously in this uncertain climate we're in. And we expect the project to be 12 to 14 months.
Mhm.
And so what you'll see is different tasks that you haven't seen before. To the extent there's any money left over in the 241,000. And that will be, for example, a big issue. We've had our first 2 tenant meetings, going forward here. And of course, the big issue is how do you actually renovate all those buildings? What is the sequence of renovation? And do you empty out all one old building at the same time? And then, blitz it with a whole bunch of teams, new kitchens, new plumbing, new everything, new HVAC, or what? So that's just being figured out right now. And of course, there's a great interest to the residents here. So it'll be different tasks than we've seen up until now, focused on actually implementing the project. You'll also see, for example, we just, I'm just giving you a sneak preview of the report next month. But we did put a lending RFP out this spring after town meeting. And we got some very good proposals, so we actually were able to get the private financing, the mass housing financing, that we need for the project. So, that's a whole new thing that nobody's heard anything about, in T-Chalk or anywhere else. So we've got, letters of, commitment that are being worked on and signed, with term sheets and what the financing, this is the construction financing and the, which is about, I think about 20 million bucks, okay. Interim financing and then the permanent financing, that, we, it's like a 40-year mortgage on the building, which will be financed by the repositioning. So you'll see.
Look forward to hearing about
more
in more detail in
different
September.
things
That'll be
and,
great.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's moving into implementation at this point.
Denise, did you have a question? Other discussion?
Is
questions?
THA gonna be here in September?
Yes. And our other team. HC. But
Yeah.
Two different agenda items, an
Big.
update on.
Lots to catch us up on. Which will be great. Like I said, welcome motion.
Let me go through this list.
Skip number 15.
Oh, did you go through 15?
No, I haven't. If you
That was
get
my
to the
favorite one.
vote,
Well,
and
let's
then-
vote on these and then
Okay.
we'll deal with 15. How's that?
Okay. All right, let me go back.
So I think we're starting on 9.
Okay, this is all with respect to article. This is a motion to approve disbursement request number 9 in the amount of $1,446.37.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Against?
Disbursement request number 10, motion to approve disbursement request number 10 in the amount of $1,445.31.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye, against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 11 in the amount of $662.50.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye, against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 12, the amount of $3,939.49.
Did we have a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye, against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 13, the amount of $8,117.48.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 14 in the amount of $2,828.08.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 16 in the amount of $1,225.36.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Motion to approve disbursement request number 17, the amount of $867.61.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Against?
Now we're going to discussing Article 15.
What about
Excuse me,
18?
Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize. Wasn't scrolling. Okay. Motion to approve disbursement request number 18 in the amount of $1,027.14.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Against? Now we're gonna discuss Article 15.
So 15 is still a CHS invoice, but they are the consultant and they are submitting invoices for basically sub-consultants that they had worked with, so third-party vendors. The work on this is for work on a title survey, a rent analysis, translation services for a meeting at the Housing Authority, Section 22 streamlined voluntary conversion application, and the capital needs assessment. There is work on these invoices that is not included in the disbursement request, so I went through and highlighted the ones that are included in their disbursement request to help make it a little bit clearer. Some of them have cover pages, so you may see the same amount highlighted twice. It's the same invoice. I did go through and match that up, but you'll see it's usually what's labeled the NHA Fed portion. There is one invoice. Let me find what page it's on. On page 123, in the amount of $1,500 for Bonds and Company, that is a retainer for services. I reached out to the Housing Authority and they had brought the retainer was put towards work that was eventually completed. Because the invoice is from April of 24 and the preliminary rent study that was completed, they have a copy of that I can pass around with the invoice if anyone wants to look at it. But the retainer was drawn down on for that, so it does end up being for work that was completed.
Discussion on Article 15.
So what's blacked out is irrelevant, is that,
Yeah.
okay. I know only the highlighted part is what's included, I just wondered.
Yeah, I think it was sent over to me blacked out, so I just added the highlighted part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very CIA.
Discussion or questions about Article 15?
It was my only concern that we weren't doing something that was totally blacked out, but.
Oh, we're not paying for any of that stuff. Erwin, did you have any questions or comments?
I have none.
All right, I guess I'd welcome a motion.
Motion to approve. First request 15, amount of $2,983.21.
Discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Against? We have completed the reimbursement request.
Madam Chair, may I just make one comment?
Yeah,
It's just to maintain everybody's memory bank. So, there was an issue, with the town council with the Dane Forkey invoice, for defending the NHA in the town against the lawsuit against the Linden Street project.
mhm,
The Superior Court hearing was delayed again, but that was delayed until tomorrow morning. So, you know, we agreed not to try to figure out whether it is or isn't legal to pay that.
Mhm.
Because why pay the lawyer fees on both sides to do something if it's de minimis? We are asking for a summary motion to dismiss, and we'll see how that goes.
and would you get legal fees if? Is
Well,
that a
there's still
possibility?
legal, the plaintiff is a resident of the Indian Housing Authority, and so, we won't get.
Okay, no
fees from-
capacity to pay, yeah.
So, no, but it's not worth making a big deal about, if in fact it just goes away. We do have some, we do have insurance, and the
Mhm.
insurance company has, agreed to cover legal fees. How much that turns out to be,
Mhm.
let's find out, and if the insurance company pays it, then we don't have an issue to, swallow over here.
Mhm. Mhm.
Much more important fish to fry, I think.
Helpful to know.
So we should have hopefully some sort of an answer, in that next month.
Excellent. So we look forward to the update next month. So September 8th. It's the Monday after, this is the Monday, or are we on a Tuesday?
I think it's the week after. Labor
It's
Day.
the Monday, 'cause
Monday.
It's the
Labor Day is
Monday.
September first.
Right, okay. Excellent. So the
Early
Monday after
Labor
Labor
Day, you
Day.
can get,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's especially cruel anyway.
that's true. It is. All right, well, I'd welcome a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Set that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, all right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. We will see you September 8th.
Send it back.